nice music.
Hey, this is John Chen. Oh, geez. It's July 23rd. This is the engaging virtual interview. I just came off a 14-hour day of producing, and I got to tell you, no matter how much you rehearse or prepare, which I'm a huge advocate of, yesterday there's always challenges, and that just seems to be common inside of virtual meetings. But the best part about it is that it was a success. Speaking of successes, I'm so excited to introduce this guest. This guest, of course, attended my conference last year, but we've been friends for a long time. We're both members of Executive Development Institute, doing work on how different people of diversity can become into executive jobs. And of course, she attends hundreds of meetings. Let's bring to the stage the one, the only, Lindy Lee.
Hi, everybody.
There we
Hi,
go.
John.
Hi, Lindy. How you doing today?
Doing great. Portland has very beautiful weather, and when the weather is good, I'm just feel happy. So, and especially seeing you. I haven't seen you for a while.
I know. I haven't seen you for a while. I know. I was just in
Yeah.
Portland. We also did stand-up paddleboard on last Sunday, and the weather, of course, in Portland is beautiful, especially when it's not 118 degrees, right, Lindy?
Oh, yes, yes. That those days, so it's kind of hard, and I definitely felt people and have to deal with the heat in the country in the summertime. Ah, it was hard, brutal.
Well, so
Yeah.
Lindy, you look
Yeah.
fantastic. I got to ask, where's the shirt or dress from, right? I love the circles.
Thank you. It's a top. Good student of you and prepared and looking good on the screen. And so,
The good look side, the definitely good look side. Okay.
yes, yes.
So let's learn a little bit more. Lindy, for my friends who don't know you, who are you and what do you do?
I'm Lindy Lee. I'm Chinese immigrant, and I work for Nike, and I am the footwear development director, and I lead a group of very talented individuals, and we create positive change in the sports world through creating stylish, have to have that one in, has to look good, functional, and a purpose-driven product for our consumers. And also in Nike, we call Nike athletes to meet their, life needs. And either they need a better product from us, or they need a better platform to drive their own purpose to with the community in the world. So that's me. That's what I do in a nutshell.
Here we go. I got a little Nike here for you on here. This is how Nike became the most powerful brand in sports. I mean, what a great company, of course, to work for inside of there. So, of course, I'd love to hear. Everybody, of course, last year had their own way of dealing with the coronavirus. So, what are some of the ways that Nike has done that in terms of virtual? I know they're already worldwide. We already know that, but I'd love to hear some of the adaptations that you believe that Nike took last year.
Um, Last year we're a global company, and when pandemic hit us, it is hard for big company have so many employees. Globally, we have around 70 thousand employees. We have to make sure everyone health and it's number one. Everyone's safe, and all the different teams in different countries are you know managing the situation with the local nuances. So we've been really just with our new CEO, John Donahoe, and under his leadership, and just make sure everyone's safe and we can still get work done, but employee safety first.
Employee safety
Yeah,
first. So I'm assuming that
yeah.
virtual meetings then really became, of course, a thing at Nike. Is that right?
Yeah, we all immediately work from home. I have to say is one of the key Nike culture is we are a team, and we collaborate. And so it work together as a team is a really big thing for us and a key success for our team. So without the connection in person, so we have to quickly pivot into a virtual world, and everyone has to learn how to use a Zoom. There's a stage we don't even know which one to use. Is a team or is a Zoom? So finally we landed on a Zoom.
Okay, well, let's ask the easy question here. What has to happen for you for a virtual meeting to be engaging for you?
Yeah. So first of all, um, for the virtual meetings, we have to make sure everyone is being present, and that's even that is hard because we're looking at a screen and it just it separates people. And how could we make sure we are truly engaged and using chat function and also using breakout rooms and the one thing is very interesting is learn from you and it's using musics and how to share musics and get people's mood feel excited about it. So all those different tools we have to leverage in Zoom and to get people engaged and really think about what is. It's kind of like even in the physical form. It's really think about the audience and what do they need, where they are. People going from one Zoom to another and make sure to give them a little bit of time and to recenter, refocus. So all the different tools to make sure uh, everyone can be engaged.
Well, I love it. Music is really powerful. Let me see if I got something here today. I love it, Lindy. Lindy's
Awesome,
definitely
awesome.
she's a workout fanatic too. What are you doing with music in your meetings, Lindy? I mean, are you actually having like either DJs or are you just making sure that people are using music either at the beginning or end of their programs? What are you doing with that?
John, great question. So for me, I'm using music is to lift people's mood up and just kind of like cooking. I love cooking. You just need to sprinkle a little bit of spice in there, and then everything tastes great, right? So music is function like a spice for the world and the back-to-back meetings and Zoom. Um, so I actually do one thing is depend on the subject of the meeting and depend on who is going to be the first person, the first subject to address. So I reach out to my team, ask them what is their favorite song. So if that person is going to be the first one to speak, I want to make sure I play his or her favorite song and then get them into the mood. And everyone seems to love it because they feel like um, that's the stage. And I call them, what's your walk-up song? They were like, what do you mean, walk-up song?
I'm serious. It sounds simple. It doesn't almost cost nothing, but like one is that it's personalized, and I know that like in the retail industry, that personalization is a big deal, right? Everybody wants their product
Yeah,
to feel like theirs. And two, they're like walk-on music. Like again, they feel important. You're not doing much, but just a small piece, I think, of asking, right? And they know that. And then the one thing I would think is really powerful about music like this. I played 3 seconds of music, and right, and it immediately changes both your and my mood,
exactly.
right?
Yes, yes.
So I love that. So I
Right.
love that people like, and then they get used to it. Then they're like, where's my walk-in song, right?
Yes.
It, And so, yeah, so that's great. So I love that you're using music. You're also planning, again, customizing, and I think those small things about reaching out to that again brings the energy to that. It's very hard to like fall asleep in a meeting where somebody customized something for you, right?
Exactly. And then so for them, they also for my team, sometimes it's almost become they're expected, and then they pay attention. It's like, oh, when it's my turn. Yeah, it's good. It's awesome.
Excellent. So,
Mhm.
okay. So let's talk about this one. That the environment is challenging. There's lots of what I call embarrassing moments. I actually had two of them yesterday, right? That is the pantsless boyfriend. He runs into the door. So I'm going to run a few of these on you. But yesterday, what were the two? I had a virtual platform not work the way I wanted to yesterday. Then the craziest one. I mean, like do you want heart palpitations? Be in charge of a virtual meeting, and again, you've seen my setup, and have the power go out. So what challenging or embarrassing moments have you witnessed in the past year?
Um, Good one. I think I think the most challenging one, I have to think about it, but what is came to my mind was the dog barking. And
Oh,
yes, so we go home and with our pets, and suddenly you're in the middle of a sentence and you can't talk because the mailman come to the door and dogs start barking. And then you try to settle your dog and try to mute yourself. Yeah, that's embarrassing. I haven't seen folks are you know, have some wardrobe malfunction, but yeah, I haven't experienced much that, you know. Oh, yes. Thank you for showing me that. That gave me some idea. I have I have one of the experience not happened to me and happened to my coworker, and he has a bird and he let his bird fly in the room, and then suddenly the bird landed on the camera, and we literally stare at the interesting part of the bird. We couldn't figure it out what was that, and he was keeping talking, he was gathering his thought, and then we are just keeping looking at this. So finally I said, Scott, please, your bird is on. So he's like, oh, I'm sorry. He says to let the bird go. That was interesting.
yeah, forgot clothes. So
Yeah.
yeah, we have one with a bird. We actually run karaoke every Saturday night, and one of them comes in with. She has a bird. The bird's name
Yeah.
is Fox, Fawkes, and when she sings, sometimes the bird sings with her. So all we hear is her singing, and all of a sudden, backward, we can actually hear it. It's like chirp, 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 chirp. Oh, there we go, bird bomb! Right, a bird flew on his head. Oh my gosh. You know,
Yeah, this is funny. Yep.
Zoom has definitely led to its number of hilarious moments. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh, geez. All right. Well. Let's see. What are some of your best tips that you've taken or maybe taught others? So, for instance, like okay, good looks, right? You make sure that if especially we're going to be on interview, right? It's a nice occasion to dress up. Yesterday, for instance, I was with a company. The company color is purple, so I had a full purple shirt, purple suit, purple ascot, right? And the client, of course, took notice. She goes, John, I just want to let you know I'm seeing the details. I want to appreciate that, right? And I'm even yeah.
And John, you rock purple great.
Royalty. It's a color of royalty, right?
Yes,
Um,
yes.
oh, thank you for that. And I wasn't even on camera. I'm just the producer, right? So I'm only on camera before the scene. But I actually hired one of my good friends as the MC, and he rocked a suit too with like a purple and gold ascot, which again were the two company colors. And yeah, it just was fantastic. It was great to work too with an MC because when I'm producing, you can see like I'm looking around sometimes today. I'm producing my own stuff, but being fully focused on one role, like production or MC. He's a TED Talk, right? He's a
Mm.
TED Talk speaker, and so he really worked hard on his lines. Like the amount of work, he only had 45 minutes of the actual meeting, and there was small speaking clips between segments, but he still worked like this amazing setup at just so he can nail those pieces right. So, anyways, I'm asking you, what are some of your best tips that you now are like passing along or doing yourself in some of your virtual meetings?
Yeah, I think it is a journey, John, and I was so fortunate to attend your seminar last year, and because it's so new, it looks so simple. It's just a camera, you talk to somebody. You definitely opened everybody's eyes of what can you do to make it more engaged. And I almost felt like I had a little bit of a head start. So give you the credit and thank you so much for hold my hand into this world. I still have so much to do, to learn. And the first thing I think the most impactful one, it's really unique to the virtual world. It's the breakout rooms. And
Oh, good.
everybody loves breakout rooms. And every single time when I use it, they all come back it's like, no, we want more. And I remember when we were in your seminar, it was same. It's everyone like, oh, we want more time. We just in the mid sentence. So I thought that too is a super powerful, but takes some time to prepare. You have to plan a little bit, and you want to make sure the subject, its agenda is aligned, the group you're going to put them together. So breakout room, it's definitely something. Um, it's magical. You have to try. More you try it, more you like it. Of course, you have some questions, John, for breakout rooms.
Oh, I'm just curious. Now, what are you doing in those breakout rooms? So, like, there's of course the standard, which is like I'm putting people there to discuss a topic or something like that. We've gone so far for I think YPO, Young Presidents Organization. It's a lot of business
Mm.
owners come together. We actually went so far and built the metaphor of a hotel. So when I turned on the breakout rooms, number one, I gave everyone control to go wherever they want, and we actually had rooms called the pool, the bar, the hallway, the penthouse, and you could go to like I could private chat you, Lindy, and say, "Hey, meet me in the penthouse. Let's hang out." Right? And so there during that's the social networking part. So I think we've even run a charity bazaar. Like there was a fair, so there were different vendors in every room, and people were jumping rooms, right, to learn about stuff and had special deals on it. So I'm just curious what you're using breakout rooms for.
Yeah, so for us right now, we are challenged with to have the connection in the virtual world because people feel like we are very kind of in-person collaboration organization, and that's our success being built on. And right now in the virtual world, we feel there's no connection. It's so hard to connect people. You don't have the kitchen gathering or hallway
Yeah.
conversations. It just we don't have that luxury anymore. And then we use the breakout rooms mainly for connection to make sure people have a chance to connect. When we able to connect, then we can collaborate. And other thing is really just this is another power of a breakout room is we can actually get to the solution alignment quickly,
Ooh.
and because people can get into the room, you have very sharp agenda, say, hey, talk about this, come back with this. Versus in person seems harder for some reason. I don't know why. And you can tell people, say, hey, it just that coordination takes a little take more time. So I feel like a virtual breakout rooms is super effective on that. But John, I learned something today
What?
about build your breakout rooms like hotel. I'm going to use that next week. It sounds so cool.
Well, let me say, like I said, you're at a large footwear manufacturer. Next week I'm going to build something, and we're going to call it a club. So
Hmm.
every room's going to have a different activity. So when you log into this thing, it's like an employee morale event, and we have 90
Yeah.
minutes, right? Their leaders from different parts of the company are going to do anything from like cooking, mixology to Bollywood dancing, which I think you would like, right? And so imagine that you jump into a room and you have no idea what it's going to be like. All of a sudden, you jump in the room and like there's some woman who's a professional Bollywood dancer, giving you instruction about how to learn a Bollywood dance. So.
Yes, I love that. That's super cool.
Yeah, and so
Yeah.
I think that's what I love is that the creativity is really here now because virtual meetings have been around, but now with this many people here, Zoom fatigue is a real thing, right? Is that
Hmm.
you need that variety. I think in retail, you got to bring something new every year, otherwise your customer will fade away and go somewhere else. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, absolutely. We have to stay close with our consumer. To your point, is um, in Nike, we wanted to stay with our core consumer, and who are athlete and who also continue wanted to leverage sports to especially right today, is try to the, all the athletes try to using the sports as a platform to drive their purpose and their commitment to the community. So we have to stay close to them. And what we have the saying in Nike is what got you here will not take you there. And it says so well. Yeah, I think everyone, it just resonates so well with me.
I can tell you that. I mean, you've seen me, since we started pandemic, the things that I'm doing now, I couldn't have done 16 months ago, right? I'm processing video in many different ways, but I'm also doing something I think that's really important here, which is like, as a side note, try not to get too sad, but I've been asked to produce probably my fourth virtual memorial for a very good friend. All right, who
Oh,
lost
wow.
her battle with cancer, and I think what's important about that is producing a virtual meeting that's meaningful, that's
Mm-hmm.
emotional. And that's hard. It's really hard, right? Because already people are kind of like, think you're tuning out. But I think it's possible. And I think that we just haven't really tried hard enough with that. So, with that, I would love to go back to a point that you made, right? Is that you
Sure.
said that like breakout rooms and other pieces connect people together. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
we have a very important saying that says, connection before content.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I think
Yes.
you believe this in Nike, right? That
Yes.
if you are not connected, you're not going to get any really good work done. So I would love to know, like, what are some of the different ways that you're helping build connection in your virtual meetings? So I heard breakout rooms. Is there any other different ways that you're helping to create a connection for your virtual attendees?
Yeah. Great question. What we've been doing is when we do connection, is I don't know. I think this is a public knowledge I can share. I just want to be sensitive with the information
You always
inside the
are, Lindy.
community.
That's what I love about you.
Yeah, I think we went through a pretty big reorganization. This is public information. In the last year, and the new team formed at the beginning of this year. And so when we're talking about try to get team together, connect with each other in a virtual world, as you can imagine, everybody can imagine, it's really, really hard. Especially for the type of company, especially like Nike, we're so relying on in-person connection.
Yep.
So, for example, we will using like at the beginning of the meeting, we will do check-ins, but check-ins in deeper checking of share about where you are on the changing curve and what is the emotional state you are in. So when we will ask everybody drop in, how use one word to describe their emotional state. So we do that at kind of exercise, and the people share say, "Oh, I feel kind of happy today, or I feel a little bit down, and because of this, and I'm confused." So, and quickly people feel like, "Oh, okay, I'm not alone," and then there everyone kind of feel that way. So it's just a simple checking. Oh my gosh, that's strong.
So, and I didn't know, when did he become CEO, right?
I think John started 2019.
Oh yeah, so pretty recent.
Yeah,
And I know
yeah.
things like, of course, I used to work at Microsoft, and like Satya is really done it, is like making gains. And so I think in coronavirus, it really did show though that leaders matter, right? That having the
Huge,
right leader
huge.
and having a leader that can really adapt to something as big as coronavirus, I think that was a big test of leadership. I'd be curious if you have any commentaries. Of course, I know he's your current boss, but in general, right? You and I are both members of Executive Development Institute. And speaking of leaders, I'm
Yeah.
just going to give a shout out to Marcy Nakano, the current executive director, right, who's choosing to move on to her next piece. I know, Nakano, right, Marcy. But like that, same thing. Leadership matters, and I'm kind of curious to hear, how does leadership kind of boil down from what maybe John or other leaders' vision is? And you're a leader too. I know you're working with a team. How does that leadership vision work down into a virtual meeting, and maybe even what I love to call? I know that Nike cares about culture. What are some of the cultures that you have in your virtual meetings?
Yeah, I think a great point. And one thing when you asked me a question, I was thinking about. um, about virtual meetings, one thing I noticed where I sit is since we're in a virtual world, I felt like I get to see John more, surprisingly,
Really?
because we were able to do all staff virtual meeting, right? So in the past, if we want to do all staff meeting, it's kind of hard. A lot of coordination. We have to book the venue, people going to the giant we call Tiger Woods Center, and it doesn't even fit everybody because we have so many people, so people in different rooms. So it was really hard to really feel the connection with our leader. But with right now in the virtual world, John can have a meeting with us as often as he wants. He can call all staff meeting, all employee, and then he's talking. I feel like he's talking to me.
What? Now, how does he do that? Because literally, he's talking to what, tens of hundred thousands of people, possibly, right?
Yeah,
How
and
does he
he's
do that?
addressing to global team, and but because of it, he's right on the screen. I see very close caption of him, and
Yeah.
also another thing with a virtual meeting is we have what you're doing right now is a live transcript, and then because of English, it's my second language. Sometimes you when you in person you even know how much attention you pay, you still will miss some words. But
Yeah.
now you can see it, you catch everything. So the quality of the communication from upper leadership down to our level, it's really it's being enhanced in virtual meeting. So I really like that. Um,
Wow.
Back to your question is how the vision in the from a leader is coming down to I consider myself a worker bee as well,
Yeah.
is really just he or leader, any leader in this virtual world is it's a really powerful tool, and you can leverage it to your full advantage because you can really address the entire company, and everyone can feel part of it and being feel inclusive environment.
So, and I think one of the things I know as a leader, especially in crisis, right? In a
Yeah,
crisis, you want to increase communication. You don't want to decrease communication because,
right on.
right, if you decrease communication, I mean that the side effects is I think you're hiding something, number one, or worse, you're a leader not dealing with reality, right?
Yes, yes, yes. That's, John, one thing in our EDI, our, curriculum, we teach about, what are the true leadership. So I remember we were talking about when it's the sea is a smooth, you don't need a leader because everybody know what to do. You just chug along and moving forward. But when the sea gets super choppy, that's when leader is really needed and show its strengths to have a very clear vision on where we are going, and then making sure everyone knows how to get out of it. Most importantly, it's almost like um, uh, lack a better word in Chinese, we will say is it's kind of like that piece of rock and to hold everybody and weigh everybody into center everyone.
What's the Chinese
So
word?
that's
What's the Chinese word for that, Lindy?
uh uh 正实 means
Sure.
we're holding everyone together. Yeah.
Ah. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for that. Yeah, this is a
Yes.
little. That's look at Vanna. This is a what is EDI? EDI is
Hmm.
again a development program that both Lindy and I went through, and I think it did some really important things. And in terms of how do we, as diversity, in this case, started with Asian American, is moving into Hispanic, but lots of other places. How do we take that and become leaders in our own organizations? Which statistically actually shows that even though, like there, right, this. Um,
Hmm.
uh, I think you have a better chance of becoming a leader. Like to be honest, if of course you're white or black or Hispanic, that actually becoming a leader as an Asian is something that's really difficult in some ways, and that we need to find some different ways to overcome, some either unconscious biases or maybe even conscious. We're just trying to figure out what some of those are. Um,
Yeah.
One of the big things I'm really big on, and I know that EDI is too, is what I call psychological safety, right?
Yes.
That's one of the ways that I think, even your CEO, I think, has found a way for it. It's number one, he's found a way for it to be, for you to feel safe, right? And feel connected in a large virtual meeting. What are some of the ways that you create psychological safety in your meetings where it feels safe for your teammates or the people in your meetings to contribute to that meeting?
Yeah, right on. I think first of all, it's in virtual or in person. You have to feel you have to make everybody feel they are part of it meeting. So you either give them opportunity to everyone has opportunity to say something. I remember you were mentioning this as well, is you have almost like Excel spreadsheet. You have everybody's name there, and did everyone say anybody says something in if you mark it next to it, then if there's somebody hasn't got a chance, you will build an opportunity for them to say something. So that's it's super. It has been super helpful. It takes time because we have a different personalities. Somebody feel very comfortable just kind of rambled on, and some people they will be like, oh, I need to spend some time, have a deeper thoughts, especially for Asians or introverted people. People like to process things and have a deeper thoughts, and then they will talk. So you have to really know your audience, and then you have to, figure it out, giving the opportunity to have everybody to say, everyone to say something in a meeting. Over time, you build that psychological safety. Another thing I learned recently, I actually experiencing is it's sometimes virtual meetings it could get pretty brutal because you don't see people, you don't feel it, you're not in the room. But sometimes the leaders try to accelerating the pace of decision making or moving on a subject. How you artfully making sure you give people the signal of its time and not making them feel like they're losing face or being shut down. So it's art there.
Yeah, it's a real art because all you got to do is shut something down, especially in a company that really where ideas are important. And I tell people all the time, like if I ask a question like this, "Hey, Lindy, what do you think is important?" Oh, you don't have any answers? Okay, I'm going to move on. Right. And so for you, like again, for if you're like me, I started answering the question in my head. I was going to try and contribute something, and then you move on, and then you just teach me, you're like, you know what? You can be lazy. You don't have to actually, I don't really want your answers. So we're just natural. We're humans. We're kind of lazy in that way. We just start
Yeah.
not do it. And then you train everybody to not do it. Then you go back and later and you ask a real question and you're wondering why nobody answers, right? It's not their fault in that case. It becomes your fault as the host. It's something I actually have been calling the invitation. The way you ask your questions, right, will increase or decrease the odds of somebody actually answering the question. I don't know if you've seen that in the past year, but that's been my experience.
Yes, for sure, for sure. And how you ask a question, how you invite input, and how you making sure we stay on subject. John, you do such amazing job. It's really making sure we stay on subject and the we can have a productive conversation. Yeah.
And it's funny too, it's training, but even now it's like I tell people to like engage the audience, all right, and then I run the meeting and they don't engage the audience, and I naturally now have this ability to step in. They're like, how do you make this small talk on virtual? And it's pretty simple. All you got to do is start talking to people, right? People come on screen,
Mhm.
even if I don't know them, I'll ask them to unmute their mic. We find out where they're from. Like last night in the port commissioner piece, what's your interest in? And he goes, I live underneath the airplane, the SeaTac airplane, and I have flights that go over my head every 90 seconds. And I'm like, oh, I didn't think about that. So yes, you have a vested interest in this meeting last night. And so it was great precursor, right? But I've like talked to some of the committee. We had somebody who was in charge of it. And it just didn't happen. So I'll just step in and try and make that part of the meeting interesting. I was also communicating information. Last night's meeting, by the way, was interpreted into 8 different languages simultaneously last night.
How you do that? You got an on-site interpreter or is it all done by AI?
Yeah, no, Zoom has the ability to actually have at least 13. I think right now, I think the limit's 13 languages, right? As long as
Yeah.
you have, but you have to have live interpreters for each language. So last night we had 7 interpreters and we had English.
Wow.
And
That's
it's fantastic.
incredible. In person, there's no way you can do that yet.
So what's one or two of your highlights from the last 16 months, right? Like a highlight on a virtual meeting, something surprising, something amazing, something enlightening.
Um, in terms of my own virtual meetings, again, I think the able to get people together, collaborate in the virtual world, it's definitely something give me so much comfort, because we don't know. And you know, the interesting thing, John, is these days, I don't know if you have a family in Asia. I do, but I also working with a lot of people in Asia right now with the coronavirus. It's getting pretty crazy out there, and not a lot of people have the ability to work from home, and they just make me feel so grateful, and that we have this tool, and we can keep working. Yeah, so I think just Zoom or Team, the virtual environment on its own, and it definitely is a highlight from last year. Um, and like I said early, you know, you kind of led this era and help people using the tool effectively. Is so grateful you're doing this kind of work and continue helping the business and society stay connected and stay creative and have fun with the tool. Yeah, definitely. These are my highlights.
I'm going to take the sports metaphor, right? Like last year, to get online was a sprint, right? You were
Yeah.
panicking. You're trying to figure out where my camera is. What, can I get connected to the internet? But now we're into the marathon portion of virtual meetings, right? Which is now
Good one.
yeah, right. So the problem is again we're humans, we're lazy. We find this baseline and then stay there. But again, like you said at Nike, if you really want your virtual meetings to get better, you have to do some work to try and figure out how can I elevate it. One of my very good friends, Tyler, he's a chief of staff expert. Oh, you remember Tyler? Tyler was on the conference too. He's become a
Yeah.
great customer, client, fan, everything. And he just said that last year was junior high in terms of virtual, but this year is high school. So what are we going to do to up this game? Speaking of up this game, let's go with the final question of the day, which is, Lindy, what do you see in your future? Especially too, you got access to some pretty amazing resources. Side note, this week I got piped into Tony Robbins' $5 million studio, and I played Jeopardy with 460 student leaders from around the world, and it was an amazing experience. So and if you haven't heard about his scenario, he's got massive screens on a 360-degree part where they can actually show all 460 students live on a screen that's like over 20 feet high. And
My gosh.
and so my
Wow.
good friend Felix Lin, shout out to Felix Lin, was actually in the studio in San Diego, so he can actually look at this massive screen with like Zoom screen with 460 people on it. So that's kind of one person's vision of version of the future, which they actually made now. But what do you see in the future of your virtual meetings?
Yeah, John, I think how I put this, I think there's just so many very talented, creative people that specialize in this world. Uh, I I know how to make shoes, but when it's coming to virtual meetings, I know there's a lot of people working on this. I trust people are working on some pretty amazing stuff out there. I am going to speak from where I am. I feel like right now in US we're in a better stage when it's come to being more mobilized. The people can go out, without mask, and we can go out. So the thing is really on my mind right now is we will have to do a hybrid version of a virtual and in person for
Yes.
most of the companies.
Yep.
So what I've been kind of thinking a lot right now is like there's a beauty in both worlds. how could we figure it out to bring the best of both worlds to help us to be more collaborative, more connected, and broader our work and horizon as well as the impact. So what is that perfect mix of both world? It's what I really see the future will be.
Well, I love that. Hybrid, I don't know if you heard, Lindy, I've actually produced my first hybrid program.
Oh no, we have to talk
And
because we are.
I have a link to a video I'm going to send to you, Lindy. We
Please,
actually did a
please.
debrief with about 40 people, and I brought not only the person who was in charge of the meeting, I brought a person who helped me with a key piece of technology, a backpack that created. I went there and I did the site visit, and they said, "Oh yeah, we got Wi-Fi." It's an outdoor venue, right? 100 people outdoors, and I went there.
Yeah.
There was no Wi-Fi. And I'm in charge of the virtual. This is kind of like, right, going to the track, right, and not having any feet. So,
Wow.
I borrowed a friend. I rented a piece of technology that I knew my friend had. It's a special backpack, has 4 cell phones in it, and bonds all 4 cell signals into one internet signal.
Amazing.
And
Amazing.
yeah, and so I used it, and it was amazing. And so I brought a computer, had 8 cameras. So I basically kind of produced this show as an award show, kind of like the Academy Awards, with the ability for virtual people to interact with the physical people and vice versa. And I just learned a lot of lessons on it. And I can tell you that you really have to watch virtual, because in the end, I think nobody knows what the right answer is.
Yes, I agree.
There's
I
a
agree.
lot
I
of
think who can unlock that is going to be amazing because everybody is amazing, but if you can unlock that to have a really good mix of both virtual and in person, that'd be fantastic.
Yeah, so watch for that, right? And
Okay.
yeah, later on we can share with them. Which reminds me, I'm going to give my plug. I have a conference coming up. My next conference, Lindy, is coming up. Of course, you as a client and customer, we are going to get a ticket, and I hope that you bring some other people from Nike. One of the key speakers will be hybrid, right? We're deciding right now to see if we're actually going to demonstrate hybrid, but I can tell you that there are some key aspects inside of there. We're going to have at least the experiences of some people we know who are experts in hybrid bring what they see to that. It's going to help you see the next level. A total of 9 speakers, October 19th through the 23rd. If you're hearing this, you can see it at engagingvirtualmeetings.com/conference. All right, Lindy, what's
Yep.
the last thing? What's one thing that you want people to remember from this conversation today?
I will say is most importantly, um, pandemic gave us a gift. Virtual meeting is actually a gift from pandemic. Let's embrace it and really make the best of it.
Perfect. Lindy, thank you so much for your time. Thanks for, of course, looking great today on today's program and sharing some of your insights. Again, engagingvirtualmeetings.com/conference. Oh, wait. And Lindy, if somebody wanted to find you, do you have like a LinkedIn or something that you would like to share if somebody was interested in meeting you?
Sure. You can find me on LinkedIn and at Lindy Lee. You will be able to find it and reach out if you have any questions or advice for me and to better to run the virtual meetings.
Excellent. Thank you, Lindy. All right,
Yep.
let's wave bye to our virtual audience. We'll see you next time.
Take care.